Hey there, welcome back to Seed Money. This is Jayla here. We are going to get into a good topic today if you have started fundraising and are not getting where you want to go fast enough. So I heard someone say the other day, we can't even raise 500,000. And you guys, I get it. If you're an early stage founder, that sentence is so heavy. So what we're going to focus on today is not that you can't raise 500,000, but it is two questions that you need to be asking yourself before you say that to really see if you are actually fundraising or if you are just emotionally sampling. Stay tuned. Okay, let's get into it. So as I said, someone said that to me last week. They said, we can't even raise 500,000. And it sounds so defeating. I get it. I've been there. I've felt it. I've seen lots of people in that place. And the thing is, whether you're raising 500,000 or 5 million is equally hard. So it's not even really about the amount of money, depending on your network. Now, some people might have a super, wealthy friends and family network. And then, yes, it might be easier to pull in a quick 500,000. I am mostly speaking to people who do not have that network, as I did not. So if you are someone who is going out to raise money or you're thinking about raising money, but you don't have a really heavy hitter group of friends and family to pull in a quick 500,000, then this is going to be a really important episode for you. You're going to want to understand how this process works so you don't take it personally and you don't feel defeated, because it's really easy to go there. I've been there. The question, when I heard that person say that, the question that immediately popped into my head was, it wasn't why can't you raise? It was, how many investors have you pitched who actually invest at your stage and over what period of time? Invest in your stage and your space and your industry, and over what period of time? Because those data points are actually going to tell you why you can't raise. And more often than not, it's not that you can't raise, it's that you haven't been pitching the right people for long enough. It's not a mystery. Fundraising, it's like a sales process. So you wouldn't launch a product and launch a sales pipeline and go talk to 10 customers and be like, nobody wants my product. You would fill up your pipeline. You would have a process to continue filling up your pipeline with targeted leads, right? You're not going to go just target the entire universe with your product. You're going to figure out who your target market is. You're going to do all that stuff. So you want to do the same thing with fundraising. You are selling equity in your company. So you're selling an opportunity, and you need to find your target customer and narrow in on who that is and what they look like, and then fill your pipeline up, with those people, and then take enough time to keep pitching. Now, it doesn't mean that is going to be easy, but at least then your first 20 investors are going to give you much better data than if you're just out there pitching anybody. So let's talk through two scenarios. You have scenario one, where you've just gone out and you've pitched 20 investors, you've had casual conversations. Anybody that's quote unquote an investor or seems like an investor are people you've had conversations with, and you're not getting the funding that you want. So I would go back and look at those 20 people and say, how many of those people were actually in my quote unquote target market? And how many of that, meaning they invest at your stage, in your space, they don't have conflicting companies in their portfolio, all those good things. Personal preferences come into play. So go back, look at your 20 investors that you've pitched, and give yourself a really honest, assessment of if those were actually in your target market of investor, your target investor profile, we can call it. If they were not, then you actually really haven't started fundraising. You're just kind of having casual conversations. If those 20 people were all in your target investor profile and you still aren't getting any commitments, then you need to get feedback on what they are seeing, because they're going to know. They invest at your stage, they invest in your industry, and they are a real potential investor who could likely participate in this round. And if they're not, you need to find out why. Now, there still could be like personal preferences or who knows what, timing. But if they might have really good feedback that you need a stronger team, they didn't understand how they were going to get their money back. Who knows? There's a variety of reasons. They need to see more traction, more proof, even though you're at early stage. Like, can you get farther? Maybe you're asking for too much money. Maybe you're not giving up enough equity. Your valuation's too high. So go back, really look at those 20 people that you've pitched, and do the same thing if you haven't pitched. So who are your first target 20 investors? Make sure they fit in your target investor profile, and then find out, like, okay, after these 20, what data am I going to collect? And then you're actually like that, then you're ready to kick off the fundraising process. So even with 20 investor meetings, you're most likely not going to close a round of 500,000. Okay. It took me hundreds and 18 months, and I'm not suggesting it should take that long for you. What I'm trying to do is save you that amount of time. I wasted tons and tons of time pitching VCs who were nowhere near the stage that I was at. They might have invested in the industry that I was in, or they invested in early stage, but they didn't even invest in like consumer products or, that kind of industry. So focus on those first 20 that you're going out to pitch as your sample. Like, we're just going to go sample 20, but make sure it's a quality sample. After those 20, get feedback, and then you need to start a real fundraising process. And that means like continuous daily outreach, meeting with people, follow up, and keeping tons of irons in the fire. And that's the best way for it to not become personal. Also, really, really key. 5 investors giving you opinions can feel super personal. 50 investors giving you feedback doesn't feel personal. So you got to get out of the personal space. So the 2 questions you've got to ask yourself: have you pitched enough investors? And have you pitched the right investors? So if you're feeling that heavy feeling like, I can't even raise 100,000, I can't even raise 500, I can't even raise 2 million, what is going on? No matter what stage you're at, you got to ask yourself those same 2 questions. Are super important, because that's going to tell you if you've actually started fundraising, or again, like I said, if you're just kind of emotionally sampling. So there's 2 places you might be. Some founders are closer than they think, but they stop pitching too early. And then other founders are not really ready yet, but they keep pitching without learning. And you got to figure out where you're at. And I think for a lot of people, they are pitching without learning. And that's when it really starts to feel like, I can't even raise the 500,000. So fix the gaps before you continue, focus on targeted investors, figure out who your target investor is. And so just remember that, the whole phrase, we can't even raise X amount of money, that is not a diagnosis for your business. That is a starting point. Don't be discouraged. It is not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But you just got to keep plugging away. You have to learn, you have to adapt, you have to tweak your deck a million times. And sometimes you have to pivot, and sometimes you have to pause and fill the gaps and then go back out and raise the funding. It is not an easy process, but it is totally doable if you can be really honest with where you're at, the actions you're taking, and if you're doing what it takes to get there. I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, reach out on LinkedIn or email me at hello@seedmoneypodcast.com. We'll see you next time.